Hello, friends. When you think of Vladimir Lenin, you probably picture the fiery revolutionary, passionately delivering speeches, orchestrating the revolution, and reshaping Russia with unwavering determination. But by 1922, that image was fading fast. The man who had once toppled an empire was now fighting a battle against his own body and losing. Lenin's health began deteriorating rapidly after the stress of revolution and civil war. The long hours, the constant political turmoil, and perhaps even an old bullet wound from an assassination attempt in 1918 had taken their toll. He was just 52 years old, but his body was acting like it had seen a century. By May 1922, he suffered his first stroke. He survived, but it left him weaker and partially paralyzed. Still, Lenin wasn't one to go quietly into the night. As soon as he was able, he returned to work, dictating orders and strategizing from his sickbed. But his fading strength was hard to ignore. In December 1922, he suffered a second stroke, and this time it hit harder. His speech was slurred and his movements slowed. For a man who once commanded with words, being robbed of his voice was perhaps the cruelest blow. But even as his body gave out, his mind remained sharp. In his final months, Lenin's biggest concern wasn't his health, it was the future of the revolution. He knew that Russia was far from stable, and he feared that all they had fought for could unravel. One of his biggest worries? Joseph Stalin. At the time, Stalin was steadily climbing the ranks, amassing power as the general secretary of the Communist Party. While Lenin was bedridden, Stalin was quietly expanding his influence, managing appointments, controlling party bureaucracy, and tightening his grip over the Bolshevik machine. Lenin saw through Stalin's act. He found him ruthless, cunning, and dangerous. In a letter now famously known as Lenin's Testament, he warned the party against Stalin, describing him as too crude and power-hungry. He even suggested that Stalin be removed from his position, fearing that his brutal leadership could destroy the revolution. But here's the tragic part. Lenin's warning would go ignored. In fact, Stalin intercepted and suppressed the testament, ensuring that it never reached the wider party. Talk about editing history in real time. By March 1923, Lenin had suffered a third stroke, leaving him almost entirely mute and immobilized. His public appearances ceased, and the once raging revolutionary was reduced to a silent observer. He would spend his final months at his estate in Gorky, just outside of Moscow, far removed from the political struggles swirling in the capital. On January 21st, 1924, Lenin died at the age of 53, leaving behind a fractured and power-hungry Bolshevik party. His death was met with massive public mourning. Thousands lined the streets of Moscow in the freezing cold to pay their respects. In true Soviet fashion, his body was embalmed and placed in a mausoleum on Red Square, transforming him from man to myth, a permanent symbol of the revolution. But while Lenin's physical presence was gone, his legacy was only beginning. His writings, his speeches, and his revolutionary ideals would shape Soviet Russia for decades to come. The Bolsheviks turned him into a secular saint, using his image to legitimize their power. Every factory, school, and town square suddenly bore his name or his face. However, the power vacuum left by his death opened the door for a fierce internal struggle. The question now was, who would inherit Lenin's revolution? The obvious candidates were Trotsky and Stalin, two men with very different visions for the future of Russia. What followed was a political showdown of epic proportions, betrayals, backstabbing, and power plays that would shape the future of the Soviet Union. But that, my friends, is a tale for next time.